Hi, welcome to the small shed. We're back with a new year and a load of new projects. See you in a minute. Well, Happy New Year to you all, even if it's a bit belated. I am now back pretty much in fighting fit condition, making videos again and hopefully getting some content out on a relatively regular basis. Leg is pretty much there now. There's still a bit of skin tissue damage and the one leg is still slightly fatter than the other one, but it's nothing that causes any problem and it's just a matter of time to sort that out. So there's no excuses, it's time to get on. I haven't been entirely idle for the last 2 or 3 months. We've gone through the garage, the work room here, the work room up in the house where I do my railway modelling, and pretty much tidied everything up. And I have been doing a few odd projects, so I thought what I'd do today was basically go through all of those rooms, show you what's going on and what's likely to be coming up on videos in the future. And in some ways it's there to demonstrate a couple of things. Firstly, as I've said on many occasions, I'm very scattergun approach with everything I do. I see something shiny, go for it and forget all the previous projects, and that has to some extent gone off, and you'll see why during the last couple of months. But also I need to just set my mind a bit and remind myself about what things I've got to do. I've just seen something now over in the corner of the shed. There's a length of oak there that's going to be made into a picture frame and I'd forgotten about it. So I need to just go through all of these things, set my mind, give you a heads up on what's coming up, and I think that'll probably take up most of the video. So let's start in here and start and have a look around at what's going on. Right, so it's time to make a start in the shed. As I said, I have had a chance to tidy up. There's quite a lot of floor which is empty, bit of circulation room. I had got a chair there because I was working off a chair for a while, and it's given me a bit more space to work on things, and some of it's fairly mundane. I've got one of these boxes that I make at Men in Sheds that needs a sand down and a tidy up for my wife so that she can put all her pegs in it for the laundry stuff. There, the plastic box she's got is beginning to fall apart, so that's not going to be something that will necessarily constitute a video, but it's something that's got to be done and will. Next to it there's a piece of, I think it's beech, I'm not sure, but she wants a tailor's block thing. Well, she wants a couple making for the seams on her quilting, that they basically use them when you're ironing and then you push it down with that afterwards. So that's got to be done, and that's a project that will be worthy of a video or two, I think. There's something I'm doing for my grandson that's a Harry Potter thing that will be coming up as a series of videos in the future. And there is the lining for, and some foam rubber for the instrument case thing that I got before I got poorly, which is for a coach box. I've done a little bit of the lining out work, I've done some of the woodwork for it, and I've been making a video on that, so that will be coming up. There are some storage boxes and liners to be built again for model railway stock. There has been a bit of a resurgence in interest in railway modelling, so I've got to try and balance that somehow with the channel and what I'm doing with things. But there's some of the bases and liners and everything to do 4 of those boxes, so that's got to be sorted. When I was just doing the intro, I noticed there's a piece of oak over there. I've got to make a picture frame for a jigsaw of my wife's and do all that, so that's got to be done. So on then to the Swift training rifle stand that obviously was getting very close to completion. It just needs some metal measuring up for the actual part that attaches to the rifle, but I subsequently had a call when I was in hospital from the guy that I was doing it for, who said he did want it finished, so we've got to put some finish on this as well. And I've just noticed that it has actually sustained a bit of damage while it's been in here, so I've got to rectify that bit. It's not a big job, but it will need doing. So there's that to do. That's pretty much a priority job because it's been held up for quite a long time. There's a piece of oak there which is going to be used for something, I can't remember what now. I think that's the rest of the picture frame for my wife, that's right, because the other oak wasn't quite big enough. So there's plenty of things to do in here, and I'm sure I'll find more. I will mention the elephant in the room, which is the 3D printer. That has been the cause of most of my problems in terms of lack of focus. It's like resin casting. I found it very addictive, and I've been making loads and loads of things which I wouldn't normally have done, and it's led me off down directions that I wouldn't normally go down, which is sort of good but also sort of bad because it's distracting me from some of the things I should be doing. I've already mentioned the Harry Potter thing. There's an awful lot of 3D printing in that, and at the moment it's printing some stuff for Gauge 1 model railways, which is bigger than the stuff I normally deal with. That's because we have an outdoor Gauge 1 track at the Railway Club, which I have been sort of seduced towards, and this is an ideal opportunity really to do something that's not going to cost a great deal of money, because doing stuff with this printer is extremely cheap, but it is of course another diversion. But I have to say, this thing has been running since I got it in September, almost 24 hours a day. I've got 3 boxes empty of PLA filament there. There's another 3 or 4 in the house, so I've got through, I don't know, 6, 7 or 8 kilograms of filament in that time. And this thing is ideal in that it will just carry on working all through the night, producing stuff, some of which you'll see in a bit. So that's the shed. All is relatively calm in here. The removal of the lathe to the Railway Club, to the many sheds I mean, has been helpful because I never used it, and it was a space that was taking up footprint, and having put the bandsaw and the pillar drill over there, it has meant that I opened up all this area over here to actually function, if you like, and I haven't, hopefully, touch wood so far, managed to fill it up with total junk. And the only other thing to be said about the printer, the 3D printer, is that it shouldn't really be in here. It's an ideal situation if I wasn't doing any other work, but the minute I start throwing sawdust around, it's going to get into all the mechanisms and cause a lot of problems. So this has got to go somewhere. I don't know where yet. I may find room for it in the garage, it may be in the conservatory or somewhere. Can't really go in the house to be running at night because it will disturb people. Even though it's relatively quiet, I think it'll still cause disruption. So I don't know yet, but what that will also involve is 2 things. It'll need some sort of a table making of some sort to support it, and I may also build an enclosure for it, because if I'm going to move on to using ABS instead of the PLA material I'm printing at the moment, and I want to do that because it's more stable. It really needs to have a constant temperature inside, you know, around the head and that. I've tried printing with ABS a couple of times with this machine, and being close to the door, it only needs you to open the door and come out a couple of times, and you start to get problems with bits lifting up off the bed and all sorts of things, because it's very sensitive to air temperature. So there's a couple of little projects in that as well at some time in the future, just to get it supported and or covered up. So that's the shed. Time to pop out and have a look and see what's in the garage. There is one thing to call in on the way past, and that is the outside part of the shed. This is also a priority for dealing with very soon, because the shelf in there is now reaching a point where I wouldn't want to stand underneath it. That's 3/4 ply and it's kind of suffered, and there is some work to the back wall to deal with as well. This is because the gutter is still not sorted, so now that the days are starting to dry out a bit, that is a priority to deal with. I don't think there's a great deal going to have to be done in the garden. The patio has overwintered all right. There will no doubt be some jobs to do. Oh, the fencing on the far side is probably also a spring job for the year. Right, so into the garage. It's had another bit of a tidy up, and again I can see a bit of floor. There's 2 or 3 things in here that need dealing with, but they're fairly minor. This down here is all inflammable stuff that is not mine, it's my son-in-law's, and when they moved via a storage container for some of their things, and they wouldn't allow them to put things like that in it, so I can understand that. That's got to go back down to Western next time we're going down, so that will be gone soon. I had the offer at the railway club the other night of a load of boxes and a back panel to hook them all onto, and I thought it would be very useful. I don't think I've got anywhere to put it at the moment, but I'm working on that one. But they are hopefully a temporary obstruction, if you like. Other than that, I'm pretty much clear. The timber there and over there stacked up is for another model railway board, which I'll explain when I get up into the workroom upstairs. But other than that, I'm ready to start working on taking the back end of this out, because I'd got a problem with it when it had its maiden run, which hasn't been looked at for 4 or 5 months now at least. So I'm going to get that sorted. So that's probably the next priority for the cycle cart, and I'm pretty much able to do that now we've got the garage back. There's a bit of damage being sustained to the tail unit that I've got to fiberglass up. Again, at the moment I can't do a lot because of the weather. It's a bit too cold to be laying up glass fibre at the moment, and it's a bit too smelly to be doing it in the garage as it opens into the house. But that is not a massive problem. There's a little bit of filler and a little bit of tidying up, and that'll be ready to go. All the materials are in here. So that's what's going on in both the cycle cart and a couple of model railway things that are pretty much woodworking related. But that's the garage sorted and tidy-ish. So then we get to the workroom, which was in an absolutely appalling state and is now at least somewhere I can work. I've been building a very small 009 railway layout, which is really tiny and taxing my eyesight and dexterity quite a bit, but as you can see, the 3D printer has been busy making engine sheds, stations, ruined cottages, buildings of all sorts, and it's also been making some buildings for my grandson's model railway as well. So that's been happening in the background, if you like. I'm working on these articulated set of coaches which will go into that case that we saw earlier. One of the mistakes I made was that, being true to, if you like, good modelling practice, I actually used real glass in the windows. These are microscope slides or slips which go on top of the slides. They are incredibly thin, but they're also incredibly brittle, and so therefore there's a bit of work got to be done to get those sorted, transfers, finish the painting, and that's pretty much it then. I think they'll be ready to start and run. They have run around the club layout, but I had to do a little bit of work just to ease them apart a bit further. So that's one of the model railway projects. But the baseboard for this 009, I originally worked on the basis that 9-inch radius was considered to be a sensible minimum for some of the locos. And I've subsequently found something that I might want to use that is a foot as the minimum radius, and this board was the thing I did for the railway club just to give them an idea of how the fiddle yard would look with 7 tracks instead of 6, and I was just using it because it was there, if you like. But I've decided that if I'm going to do this, I want to do it sort of properly. It is only something just to play with. It's nothing too serious, but I want to actually try and get it somewhere near running properly. So I'm going to make a new board. You saw the timbers for that down in the garage, which will be 750 wide instead of 600, and that will enable me to get these slightly larger radius curves on. It won't be particularly realistic because it's so small, but it's something that the grandchildren can play with when they come up here. The workbench at the moment, you can see we're playing with the gauge 1 stuff, which is pretty huge, and that's something that's been printing on and off for a few days, and that's keeping me occupied. I've spent a lot more time in here over the last few weeks, purely and simply because it's cold, and when I wasn't feeling too bright, it was somewhere I could come and just do a little bit of work. Now, the other thing that's got to be done, and I would like to try and get onto it this year, I've mentioned it in the past, is to rework this whole room so that we've got a wardrobe in the corner and access to the window, if you like, rather than a bench there. Probably a few less units in here and a bit more like a bedroom as well as the railway room that it is. That I'm hoping will be something we can get onto. I need to get over to IKEA and get some ideas and inspiration, but at least I've made a start by making sure again that I've got a clean floors everywhere and most things put away, so that we can always take stuff out of that, just temporarily put it into storage and put the wardrobe in, and off we go. But the whole room will want redecorating as well. So that will be a big one. That'll be a bit like we did with my wife's workroom, but I would like to get onto that one as well in the year. I've just sanded and coated this up this afternoon with a new peg basket, but it's not going to suit. I don't think it's not quite big enough. So I think we've created another job for ourselves in making a new peg box. So plenty of projects there, plenty of things to do, plenty to keep me busy. Let's hope that the point of the channel in keeping me focused will now kick in and get some of these things sorted and out of the way. Hope you enjoyed the video. Look forward to seeing you next time. We'll be doing something creative, I hope, in the shed, and I'll see you then. Bye.